What's going on, guys? Hope you're all having a good day. And the Battlefield 6 launch was, considered one of the better launches that we've seen for a Battlefield series in a really long time. I think that's one of the things that we should be giving Battlefield 6 its biggest praise for, just the fact that they've launched the game with pretty much zero issues. I know EA had their issues with their launcher on PC and people weren't able to play it, but they gave vouchers out and gave a bunch of XP tokens. I think it was like 12 hours worth of double XP, which is pretty insane. And it's just the fact that this game pretty much had a flawless launch, in my opinion. I play on Steam, and it's the fact that, that one pretty much had zero issues, and it's something that I haven't seen in a long time. I remember going back and playing Battlefield 4 when that game first launched, and oh my god, you could play on one server, because that game had a server browser, which Battlefield 6 doesn't, which I could put into an entire other video, but it's just the fact that with a server browser, you could join one server, play for like 2 hours, and level up a gun a couple levels, and it was slow back then as well. So when you left and the server died, for example, you moved over to a new server, you would lose all your progress. And that was like the first couple weeks for Battlefield 4. It was like completely unplayable, it felt like. And it's kind of something that I feel like they should be praised for, is the fact that the game launched with pretty much no issues at all, other than a large queue, which isn't a problem at all. It just means a lot of people were wanting to play your game at once, which, I mean, that's a really good thing for Battlefield. It spells the fact that, people want specific things from one series, and they certainly delivered this year. It's really ramping up the competition for other FPS games out there on the market, and especially the competition towards Call of Duty, because they're showing them that they can't just sit there and make the same garbage every year, because you'll have a game like Battlefield 6 come along and just kind of push you out of the way because you're not able to give what players have been wanting for the longest time. And you are putting the band-aid on there by taking SBMM, and this is for Black Ops 6, but taking SBMM and reducing it. The skill-based matchmaking for that system was obviously not good for it, and they may have a bunch of data saying that it is good for Call of Duty, but unfortunately, you have a game that comes out like Battlefield that has reduced skill-based matchmaking. You see how much fun people have with the game, and and then you have the situation that we're in now, where Battlefield has just completely crushed your game, and you are now following in the footsteps of Battlefield. When has that always been the case? I feel like the last time Call of Duty tried following Battlefield in any way was Levolution, and they completely did it in a terrible way in COD Ghost back in the day as well. I mean, it was funny seeing the Levolution from that game and then looking at any of the stuff that you could do in Battlefield, and it was a complete joke compared to the two. I think it was between Battlefield 4 and COD Ghost at that time, and it was just no difference. There was not even close. I think that's been the case for a lot of the years since probably around Bad Company 2 or Battlefield 3, is just the fact that Battlefield has always been kind of just the one-up for Call of Duty for the longest time, when if you're always expecting to find kind of a larger scale arcade shooter like the Battlefield series is known for, I mean, they've always nailed their style of games. They've always made their games in a specific way, and I think even Battlefield 6 usually pretty much nails exactly what the formula for Battlefield entails. And I know people have issues with the map sizes and how many maps aren't just the full-out warfare. Like, I miss having every map with helicopters and the tanks and the jeeps and the armored vehicles. I think every map should have that, but I think it's an okay mix. It's not bad playing Siege of Cairo and only having tanks, or moving over to Manhattan Bridge and having helicopters with all the armored vehicles, and then of course you go over to something like Operation Firestorm, where there's multiple jets, multiple tanks, and everything else in between. So I do think it's a good variety, in my opinion. I'm really, kind of glad that there's not like a pure infantry only map to where there isn't like any vehicles at all. I can't really think of any on the top of my head. If you have one down in the comments, go ahead and let me know. But it's like you don't have an Operation Locker or an Operation Metro in this game, and I think that's a good thing right off the bat. I think if there was that those two maps in the first place, you'd have pretty much every Portal map putting it themselves in there, making an XP farm out of the craziest brain rot meat grinder map possible. And you still have people making stuff like that with the Portal mode, and I think the Portal mode is really something that we should be praising this game for as well. It's going to really increase the longevity of what you can do with the game, and you have a ton of really creative people, making maps as they go. I think there's already been A couple people saying that the map editor is pretty limited, but I mean, just the fact that you have one is really nice. And I think they more than likely will probably add some quality of life situations or updates to the portal mode, so then map editors and people trying to make their own servers can make them a lot easier, which, you know, seems to be the case so far. They're pretty vocal about what they're making and what they're trying to fix with everything. I think they've already claimed that the movement is getting some kind of other adjustment. It's not exactly where they wanted it to for the vision of the game, obviously, and that's been a big contention. They keep changing the movement around, they keep fixing the vehicles, you know, they changed helicopters and jets to, you know, be a little bit more maneuverable, which was nice. And, you know, just a overall feel of the game, like they obviously have some kind of vision that they're going to shoot for, and it's really nice to see a game just kind of go for it. And it's not exactly that it's the same thing as all the other Battlefields. I do think that this one has its own unique feel in the franchise for Battlefield. Like, this one does have a different feeling, in my opinion. I don't know if it's just like the overall atmosphere when you're in the game, just the sound design reverberating off like every wall when you're standing in the middle of the city for Manhattan Bridge. And, you know, that's just one example where you have just like a really solid game just overall. Like, the entire time you're playing it, your eyes are just looking at pure eye candy. The art style for the game was really impressive to me. Just the overall feel for the game, while different, does feel really good this time, and I think a lot of people are in agreement with that. It's no wonder that the player count is so high. It's a fun shooter, it's a good looking shooter, and you know, it spells the fact that they're not messing around this year. They decided to listen to the community and take in as much feedback as possible, and they really seem like they're going to be trying to fix the game as much as possible. I know there's a lot of people out there that are already kind of memeing on the game for the fact that the campaign is mediocre, or the fact that there's just cheating in the game when they have this, you know, fancy anti-cheat system in there. It's like, there's always something to talk about with these games, complain about. And I may complain about Call of Duty for a lot, but again, my opinion on that has shifted to kind of in like the medium area. I'm kind of on like the fence on whether or not Call of Duty is going to be good this year, because skill-based matchmaking being reduced in that game could help it a lot, but I do have a big but for that one. Just Battlefield obviously seems like the choice this year, because I mean, it's a proper next-gen game. They aren't on the old consoles, and they're trying to show off what the new tech can do, and they've done a really good job of making these things more interesting to play and fun to play. And that spells competition for all the other FPS titles. It makes them all become better, so it's more of a value to us as a customer. And I think it's really funny that pretty much everybody was going to Battlefield in order to, you know, kind of show COD that they were done with what they were giving to us every single year. They didn't want the same thing as last year, and a lot of people were pushed away from Black Ops 6, and when you make Black Ops 7 pretty much the identical copy of Black Ops 6, you're going to have a lot of people who are just not going to want to enjoy your game and move away from it. So, you know, Battlefield just kind of opens its arms and takes in all these new players, and it's funny to watch people jump into Battlefield for the first time. It's like we've all been there. When you first get in, it's overwhelming. Things are happening all over the place, but you know, it's a good space to still be able to improve on a game. It doesn't feel like you're being punished that much, although I do find it really annoying sometimes when I'm trying to spawn on my squad mates, and I usually end up spawning and they just so happen to be walking in front of 10 enemy soldiers and you're dead 2 seconds into your spawn. I've had that happen even like spawning on a flag point. I feel like sometimes the vantage points can just look into a flag spawn. I think the spawns could be fixed quite a bit. They need to be changed, or at least the logic of where you spawn should be changed probably quite a little bit, because it just feels like you're getting spawn killed pretty much right away, and that's always not exactly fun when you're trying to play your game. But that is Battlefield for you. Sometimes you're spawning on a flag and the entire team is pushing into that, and I'm more talking about conquest in this case. But if you're one of those people who play the other game modes, like what game mode are you guys all playing? I'm mostly a conquest player. I really like that mode just because it's the bread and butter and what makes Battlefield to me. And I also like Rush. I like Breakthrough. I think Escalation was pretty interesting, although I haven't really gotten to play much of it. And then I played Hardcore. Hardcore on the Portal mode was actually pretty interesting. I had a good time with that. I played a couple matches just earlier today and had a really good time. Just overall, really enjoying Battlefield 6, and I'm not sure how anyone could even consider wanting to play Black Ops 7 this year when you have a game like this, and especially because their Battle Royale is going to come out at the end of the month here, right around when Black Ops 7 is launching, and it's just going to be another punch in the face for COD. You know, not that I'm complaining. I think Call of Duty deserves to get knocked down a few pegs just because they've been stagnant over time. So that's all I got for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you leave a like and go ahead and subscribe if you're new and hit that bell notification for my new videos. And yeah, that's all I got for today, guys. See you later. Bye.